Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, as part of our coverage of Austin Film Festival's 26th year, I was lucky enough to chat with filmmaking duo Harry Elfont and Deborah Kaplan. We talk about their YouTube original television show, Liza on Demand, as well as their classic films, Can't Hardly Wait, and my favorite, Josie and the Pussycats. If you don't think that both those movies are absolute classics, well, I just don't even know why we're friends. But if you're like me, you've loved Harry and Deborah's work for years, and it was a real treat to get to talk to them. I hope you enjoy. I was so excited about getting to do this interview because I really loved Can't Hardly Wait, and I still am a nut about Josie and the Pussycats. It's one of those movies that I quote. I don't care if anybody else gets it.
Thank you.
I threw the album on this morning because I've got the Mondo release from a few years back. Can y'all talk a little bit about creative partnership and what kinds of things you enjoy, not just working on yourselves, but working on together? What makes you want to do the project with each other?
It's a really good question.
No one's ever asked
us that. That's really good. I don't know. It also, I mean, project to project things always change in terms of what kind of inspires us to get going. I mean, we're always looking for just a good idea, like, oh, that would be a good movie or a good TV series. And then obviously there are practical concerns that come into play, which is, we both have families and a job is a job. So it's like it's balancing all of that. But something like Josie was, for both of us, we grew up loving musicals, and it was a chance to do a musical. It was at a time when nobody was doing musicals. So like that one specifically was that, and it's interesting because it's, our interests change, our interests diverge and converge, and it's finding what excites both of us to do something together. And we've, for the past, 20 plus years, have found those things that both of us are interested in and get us inspired to get going.
I mean, I don't know how anyone writes comedy alone. There are people who do it, but I don't know. I feel like it's very complimentary to have a partner in comedy. Even when we were staying yesterday, now we're in a writer's room for our television show, and you get even funnier then in those groups of funny people. Being around funny people, I think, makes you funnier. You get that sort of competitive edge to keep up with the room. And I'd be curious to know how people write comedy alone. Like, how do you know if it's funny, just funny to you?
I would agree. It baffles me how you could possibly do that without a sounding board and not fall into unfunny but clever.
Right.
Where you make yourself smile.
It feels like it is very, very hard to do comedy in a vacuum. I mean, even if you're a stand-up, you can't do it without the audience.
Yeah,
the audience tells you it's funny.
Workshopping it.
But for something where you're filming it or you're putting it on some kind of memory card and then showing it a lot later, you need people around you. Even the people who do it alone have people around them.
Everybody back your stuff up on memory cards and things, please.
If there's one thing you take away.
I'm not, but I've heard horror stories recently of people losing stuff, so just take a pause.
Back up. My advice also is don't delete your memory cards. Save your memory cards. They're not expensive. They used to be really expensive. They're kind of cheap now.
Yeah.
Keep them as original negative. It's a really good final backup.
It's going to be the kitchen drawer of the future instead of like some string and some scissors.
It's all memory cards.
It's be all memory
got all
cards.
those floppy disks.
I have all of mine. Over the last 10 years, I have all of them stored up, saved.
When it comes from moving from feature film to television, I often think like when people want to shift from novel writing to writing a film or something, they run headlong into this moment where they've got to start collaborating. But television even more so, where you have a writer's room of other ideas that maybe aren't yours, maybe are better than the one you walked in with. What has been your favorite moment of expanding out into getting to use a TV writer's room?
Well, I mean, I think any sort of creative form where there's commerce involved becomes creativity by committee. Because whoever controls the money gets a say. Unless you are able to self-finance, which I don't know how many people can, you're always going to have to listen to somebody. In the writer's room, what that's really helpful for is building out the season and coming up with ideas, and it's just nice to have other people throwing ideas in. And we ultimately, when the scripts come in, we wind up going over them anyway because we like everything to have a consistent voice, and we seem to be only able to write in our own voices. And you can't expect someone else to come in and be able to do that. We have 20-something years on them as a singular voice.
Yeah, it's about making. I think when you run a room, it's about making clear what you want from those writers very, very early. It's about kind of here's the show. This is the idea, and it's about you're also corralling people. Because sometimes a room can spin off.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like to waste time in the room either, because we want everybody out on time. We run a very we run a good schedule. People when they first work with us, because nobody really knows. You hear nightmare stories about people working till 2 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And we let everybody go, and some writers said to each other, "Oh, good, they like their kids. they want to go home." But it's about making sure you don't spin off into stuff. A lot of times things are just kind of room funny in the room, and you're making each other laugh, and then you have to realize, guys, this is never going to go on the show. We have to get back on track, and let's write what's actually going to be on the show. And once everybody understands the parameters, then it's all about servicing the vision for the show, and it's great to have people who can bring stuff beyond what you would think of, because everybody knows where we're going. You don't
want to fall into that trap of here's the same 8 to 10, 40-something to 50-something-year-old white guys who've been in this room together for years and now just think what they think is funny. Okay. It's really good to bring, we tend to try and switch it up from season to season too and bring in some new perspectives and bring in, for instance, we sat down this season to write, came with a bunch of ideas, hated them all, and then said, oh, you know what, last season we started from a place where we were angry about things. What are we angry about? And we said, all right, everybody go home over the weekend and think of things you're angry about, because that's where all the social commentary comes from in the room, in the scripts, I mean. And someone who is, a young woman in their 30s is going to have a very different thing they're angry about than, say, Harry, who's a man of indeterminate age.
I'll be related to her angry things more than others. So that's it's a fun experience, and it's fast. It's much the pace of television is so much quicker. I mean, there are movies that go quickly because somebody has an idea and there's a window with a star and they got to get going, but that's rare.
Yeah,
it's great to just to be able to just get going, and in 2 months we're going to be shooting, so we got to get these scripts done because we finish everything before we start shooting because we're directing a lot of the episodes, and also for production. We're cross-boarding so much because it's so cheap.
It's too hard for the crew to sort of be waiting on material.
When you've limited resources anyway. I imagine if you're a show that's been up and running for years and you sort of have the same standing sets, there's not a lot of scrambling.
Josie and the Pussycats had such a running commentary about commerce in art. And while, like you just said, any time there is commerce involved, at some point there's going to be a collaborative moment. There's going to be some voices in the room that are not the original writer that have weight. But it's not as simple as saying that without those influences, self-finance, that, when Howard Hughes drops all the money to make the movie, if Jeff Bezos just wanted to make his own movie, that is absolutely not guaranteed that thing will be good at all.
Right.
That often unfettered, no boundaries, it's often those boundaries I feel like that make for the creative choices sometimes.
I'm trying to think of painting, I guess, is an art form where the artist sort of works without interference, or, I guess back in the day when they had patrons,
right,
it was page my wife, you had to paint everyone in the family so you could do the things you wanted to do.
Even the Sistine Chapel was commissioned.
Right.
I mean, at some point there was I want God like this, I would assume.
Right.
Can you talk a bit about your maybe happiest accident or favorite moment where you made a change to a project because of the kind of pressure that you would normally think of as oh, that's dirty, I don't want this marketing people telling me what to do, and it ended up being something that you enjoyed for the project?
I can't think of any offhand.
Season on Liza. What was it?
Well, it was a Nathan note, but that was just a note. That was just a note. I mean, it's nice when you get good notes from people. I mean, the last season on the show, he just had that note about like, he had like the truth vomit note, and we were like, oh, that's actually a funny note, and we just put it in. That was, but we had when we did Can't Hardly Wait. Actually, we had Kenny and Denise. Oh no, it was Mike and William wound up friends at the end. Like they met up at the diner and they were going to be friends at that experience. And Amy Pascal, to her credit, who was running the studio at the time, said it's too neat. It should be a little messier. Not every story should tie up with a happy ending. And we were like, that's great. You're going to let us do that? Fantastic. I think we were anticipating, well, we're going to have to
tie everything.
And we didn't. And it was really great. And we kind of left it up. We went back and forth with Denise and Kenny. That's the joke. Like they broke up and they got together and they broke up again. But that was a good note. And to Universal's credit, with Josie, Stacey Snider, who was running Universal at the time, she totally got what we were doing. She knew it was a satire. I mean, she gave us Putney Swope to watch.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
Yeah, which is the first time I'd ever seen it. So she knew what we were doing.
You want to talk about two movies I did not think you'd drop in the same sentence?
Right.
That they handed y'all Putney Swope to watch.
Yeah.
More people should go find that movie. Find a video store in a tri-state area and rent Putney Swope.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I gotta ask what. Now I want to rewatch Josie and take another look at the level of satire and what was going on. I think the funniest joke for me in that entire movie was the nod back to the comic, where they asked the sister, why are you here? And like, I'm in the comic. That's why I'm in this scene.
Right.
And I lost it. That was a few years before the reinvention of Archie. Can you talk a bit about working with an established company with IP that maybe they're a little protective of and then trying to do your thing with it?
I think it was really different then. I mean, people are so protective now of IP, and also because you have to deal with fans on Twitter who are like angry about the slightest adjustment. We really had almost free reign with the girls in the comic. There were a couple rules that the companies or the rights holders had, and they were very specific and small. That the girls had to be shown wearing seatbelts. So I think we have them in the van and they have seatbelts on. And then they had to be shown having good oral hygiene, which is why in the opening credits they're brushing their teeth. But other than that, they didn't seem to really care.
I think they, at the time, I may be wrong, but I feel like there was an Archie's movie that was in the works forever, and I think they just wanted this stuff to be out there. They wanted their properties being made as feature films, so they didn't have as much, I don't think they were as precious, because they're like, let's get a Josie movie out there. That would be great. Right. It wasn't as common. There weren't a lot of Archie materials being. I mean, was Richie Rich and Archie's thing? No, that's not. That's a different brand.
No.
Right. So I don't think. I don't think there were a lot of Archie's things going on. So I think they were probably happy to have the movie. Now it'd be very, very different.
It'd be different now, but look at Riverdale. I mean, that's a huge departure from the comic.
Yes.
Was the guy is the guy who runs Riverdale? Is he connected to the comics world?
Yes, no? He did the Afterlife with Archie.
Okay, so there's I think a little more of a through line because
I'm blanking on the rest of his name. Yeah, the playwright that took over the Archie stuff. Yeah. Thank y'all so much for chatting with me about all of this today.
Sure.
Really. One last question I've been asking a lot of folks this weekend. Television has changed so much in the last few years, not just in the streaming service delivery method, but what's television and when Netflix makes movies, what's a miniseries versus an anthology thing. For you as filmmakers, does that space feel different now? Is television something that you would have gone into in the 90s the same way?
I guess it's even hard to label it television because who watches it on a television?
Yeah, it's on my schedule on whatever device. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's all, and this is a dirty word, but it's all really content, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Like, just the venue's erratic. I don't know. Can you speak to that?
I mean, I think for us, it's about where can we make stuff. It's really chasing, the movies we are known for making, they're not making those as theatrical releases anymore. For the most, maybe once every couple of years, but, we can't really wait for those. So it's like, who's going to make our stuff? So right now it's much more going towards television. And that, look, we have a show on YouTube right now. Like that, YouTube didn't exist when we started. When you're saying, like, would we have done television in the 90s? It's like, it was broadcast television, really. So it's about kind of where are they going to pay us to make what we want to make? And what's nice is to be able to have the freedom at a place like YouTube. I mean, they don't pay a ton, but that's really, we can make whatever we want to make. I mean, there are minimal notes, and it's go, and make the show, and it's pretty great. So it's about finding those places that'll let you kind of do what you want to do and keep making stuff.
I think there used to be a sort of snobbery about television, even in the 90s, I think. But you look at now, I think some of the best things, if you were just lump it all into like filmed entertainment at the end of the year, and you had to sort of rate it all by your enjoyment. For me, at least, I could say with great certainty that like 5 out of 10 would be television shows, minimum. There's such great things being done on television. I don't feel like there's a line anymore.
Well, it's weird how movies sometimes feel rushed now. Because a lot of times we're used to episodic television, even a limited series, where you can dig in, and it feels like watching a movie. You're so aware. I mean, at least I am so aware of kind of the structure of the movie, where I'm like, we're at the end of the second act now. Yeah. This is it. And it feels very limited. And at the same time, some series feel like, sometimes like some of the FX series feel like, that could have been a movie. That didn't need eight episodes of that.
I don't want to generalize. I don't even know how to say it. I feel like movies feel more like a ride, and TV feels more like a journey right now. And I feel like I'm more excited about a journey than a ride. Yeah. But maybe because I'm old.
I find it's ironic because the time code's kind of flipped, but I find myself pausing before I'll start a movie and like, how do I really want to sit down for an hour and a half?
Totally.
Right.
And then I'll watch an hour of television, get hooked on it, watch 4 more.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I didn't commit to that hour and a half though.
Yeah.
But you had a much better time.
But yes.
But I think we're also feeling the freedom in television, in that you're not feeling something that's been either watered down or compromised by, we have to sell it internationally. It's got to work in China. It has to work for a large audience, other than kind of small indie movies, which sometimes honestly feel like a drag. Sometimes some of the smaller ones just feel like, I'm not going to enjoy this 2 hours. It's really not going to be fun.
Like homework and pressing and
So I mean, it's an exciting time. I don't know how long it doesn't seem like it can last. Like just all of this television. We're going to be in 5 years. We're going to be back to 4 major conglomerates controlling everything.
Yeah. Someone's going to figure out how to curate and aggregate the 9 million streaming networks.
Yeah.
And that'll look exactly like broadcast.
Netflix, Disney. Yeah, and who else? I mean, we'll see if Netflix can even last. But yeah.
Thank you both so much.
All right, sure. Thanks for having us. Cool.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.